Coach V Show, where iron sharpens iron. Together we rise. Your Hollywood radio show for personal development, powered by Island City, where the beach meets the streets, where we feature Mr. O himself, Oscar Fakahua, here on the Coach V Show, where he is going to be talking about how the heart is his compass and how you and I can use the heart to be our compass in life, leadership, and business. Thank you so much again for tuning in. And now a word from our sponsor.
Say, for things to change, say, I must change. Say, if I don't change, say, nothing changes. Say, if I do change, say, everything. Who's ready to get better?
Look for in all you guys is a champion. The three main things that we try to go by is character, choices, and champions.
What it is that you, me, and we do for ourselves brings progress. What we do for others brings fulfillment, and what we do in both earns success.
You are now tuned in to the Coach V Show.
Welcome to the Coach V Show, your personal development show from Hollywood to help you and me work to be our best and live our best life in terms of focusing on personal development, an inward approach with outward performance and results. And where iron sharpens iron, together we rise, right here on Island City, where the beach meets the streets, where tonight Oscar and I will be offering to you for your consideration success frameworks, behavioral models, and life lessons so that you can really become the best version of you. And as I just alluded to, we are blessed and honored to have Brother Oscar in the house, and he goes by Oscar Fakahua. Born and raised in the Bay Area in California by parents who immigrated from the South Pacific islands of Tonga in the late 50s. And for the past 35 years, he has worked in the human services industry. Studied at Southern Utah, where he was able to find a path and began a career in youth corrections as a counselor. He continued as a trainer and a facilitator in multiple residential treatment centers, where he gained knowledge and love for helping those around him. As time continued, he has spent a number of years training staff members in various facilities who work one-on-one with individuals of special needs or have been placed outside of their homes. He continues to mentor all of us and address various cultural and religious groups, high schools, and college athletics teams on conduct professional training for multiple businesses and share messages of promise and potential for people around the country as an inspirational and motivational speaker. He is currently a life coach for those who are experiencing day-to-day struggles, and he finds joy in helping those around him. But the best part of what it is that he says he does is watching people heal by embracing their fears, vulnerability, and figure out how to overcome adversity. In which case, here is a Oscar Fakahua quote: "My heart is my compass." Brother Oscar, welcome to the Coach V Show.
Man, thank you, Coach. It's good to be here with you. I'm excited, brother. I'm excited to share what it is that both you and I are doing to do something that allows our circle of influence to continue to grow, and in building and sharing love and care and concern for all people. I'm touched for the opportunity just to be on your show and loaded with gratitude, brother. Thank you so much.
Oh, we share in that gratitude. I know personally the level of awareness and individual it is that you bring into every aspect of life, both personal development, family approach, in terms of this spiritual approach, right, to working to be our best and live our best life. So thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you to your family. And you being the greatest fan of BYU football, Southern Utah football, you're I mean, you're like everywhere. So thank you so much for taking the time to come. I have my notes. I am really challenging everyone out there also to grab a pen and paper, grab your notepad or a laptop, and get ready to take some notes, because you're about to get some genius, some wisdom, and then also some frameworks to really help you in what it is that you do. Oscar Fakahua, what is your genesis point, Oscar?
You know, I come from a poor family, right? I think we come from the same type of background where our families are trying to find a way to leave a mark on this earth that allows us to become something that we never thought, you know, would happen for our own families. I mean, whoever thought that I would be sitting here having an interview with one of my own brothers, talking to me about something that's important in our hearts, right? You and I come from a culture that's very matter of fact, right? And there's no time for silliness, and there's no time. I mean, we goof around a lot, right?
Right.
Coach, we goof around a lot, but when it comes to our children, sometimes goofing around, adults don't always take that in a way that allows them to be okay. And sometimes we call that laupisi or launoa, right? And sometimes even as adults, we have to be those things where we kind of act silly or we're kind of goofy. And what I've learned in growing up in my family is that my dad and my mom wanted us to have something more, and wanted us to be educated, wanted us to be fluid in the way we speak, wanted us to act in a way that would allow us to be shown to the world that we had something to offer. And so as I'm sitting here, where did it all begin? It began from mom and dad and just their teachings, just helping us to learn that you want people to pay attention, to be kind, be loving, be respectful, be a person that has great intentions, intentions that shows love and care and concern, and not one of, you know, the natural things in our lives where we tend to be selfish, or we tend to have little things about each of us as individuals that might hold us back or might want to hold someone else back. You know, so when it goes back to the beginning, I'm just sharing, man, I had an old man that used to wake us up all the time, our dad, to go work. We went to school, we came home, we had football practice, we came home, ate, and then we were on our way to the airport, brother, to go clean airplanes. Late into the late hours of the morning, came home, went to sleep, and repeated the same thing the next day, right? Because it was something my dad had subcontracted with different airlines that allowed our family to function, right? He worked for American Airlines for over 35 years. And in that time, picked up little side jobs that allowed us kids to go in and learn. And I remember, I'll just share this real quick as part of the beginning. One time he sent us all off to school, and we came back from school, and my man picked us all up, my brothers and I, from the airport. And when we got into the truck, he says, all right, we have some work to do. We will be working, cleaning a few different yards, doing some gardening work. And when we got there, we're doing this work. I mean, we just barely got there. It's like, I want to say it's like 10 in the morning. We flew in. We're still dressed nice. You know, we're students thinking that we're pretty cool. My dad says, you know, go in your luggage, find something that you can wear because we got work to do. We didn't even go home. You know, we get out of the truck and we took a shovel and a couple of different tools and just started working. He said, I'll be back. I'll go get us some lunch, right? And I mean, this is like 10:30 in the morning. He doesn't come back till like 5 with lunch. He comes back and me and my brothers were standing there talking, and he says, you guys You guys did good work. It looks great. I'm proud of you guys. Come sit down, have something to eat. And while we're sitting there eating, my youngest brother looks at my dad and says, Dad, do you need one of us to stay home and help you, since it seems like we're struggling financially?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the old man looks at us. He looks at us, Coach, and he says, don't think that this is what, I'm having you do this because we need it. I'm having you do this to understand that you don't want to do this your whole life.
Right.
Right? He was teaching
Right.
us a lesson. He was helping us to understand. This work was cut out for me. I came here and I've worked my tail off, right, to give you guys opportunity. And today was to remind you that you're in school for a reason. If this is what you want to do your whole life, that's okay. I'm just trying to help you understand that there's other opportunities.
Right
And
on.
so we were blessed. We were blessed that way. Old man was always teaching us different things that would help us in our lives to recognize, right? So when I go back to the beginning, that's where it all began. And how he taught us, he would sit and teach, right? I mean, in our culture, it's sit and if we're not learning, flick our ears, smack the back of our head,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it was
Mm-hmm.
like a very disciplinary type setup growing up. But he also spent a ton of time, Coach, just loving on us, helping us to understand. I love you. And you shared tears with us. And he would help us to understand that you want something big, you got to allow your heart to get in the way, right? Don't push your heart to the side. Allow your heart to sit right in front and go complete what it is the task is. And so that's where it all began, man. I run into tons of people, Coach, that always said, man, Oscar, you share tears quite a bit. And I said, it's the only thing that I have that allows you to understand that what I'm sharing comes from my heart. It's not something I practice. It's something that I deliver that's literally from here. And so when I say my heart is my compass, I'm not joking. I can only give what my heart allows me to give. And so like you, brother, when I listen to your show, when I gather stuff from you, I'm like, this is not only knowledge, this is heart. And wisdom for me and you is delivered with heart, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, thank you for that, Oscar. In your Genesis point, let's introduce the audience to your mom and dad. Who are they? And then let's also introduce the audience to the specific geographic region where you grew up, Oscar. Where is that? And who are your parents?
So my parents is my father's name is Malakai Pua Fakahua. Some of the people in Tonga might have known him as Malakai Pua or Malakai Lavulo. But Malakai Fakahua, he had changed his name when he came here. He's originally a Fakahua, was raised by Lavulo, which I'm filled with gratitude for. But went through all of his younger life as Malakai Pua, which is his middle name, right? My mom is Latu Vava'u Finau, and she's from Neyafu Vava'u. Her mother and father is Anna Lolohea and Ishikeri Finau. And they were right there in the middle of Neyafu. My mom loves to talk about growing up right in the middle of town. And I didn't really realize how important of a fact that was, but it's taught me a lot of things about our own culture, And so I was born and raised in San Francisco in a town called San Bruno. I'm the oldest out of 4 kids. I have 2 siblings that were adopted that are older than me, that came from Tonga with my parents. And of course, as all of us are older and grown, and we all have children. My immediate family all lives in Utah now, brother. But we were one of the first families that grew up right there in San Bruno. So there's a lot of people in San Bruno now. When I come around, they're like, who's the new guy? And I'm like, sorry, people, there's not a new guy here. I'm just part of you guys. I just been gone for a while, you know?
Yeah. And your mom's first name?
My mom's first name is Latu.
Latu Finau.
Latu Vava'u Finau.
Yeah, Latu Vava'u. Yeah. So shout out Sneath Lane, shout out Tanforan, shout out Rolling Pin Donuts, Millbrae Ward. Come on, Oscar. Am I getting close? You're
right there in my home, brother.
Bel Air Elementary School. Come on.
I actually went to Rollingwood Elementary.
You did?
Man, you know all those places, huh?
Oh yeah, I've been a recent customer, both in my skinniness and my chubbiness, at that Rolling Pin Donuts on San Bruno Ave, boy, right?
I'm telling you, Rolling Pin has blessed my life, brother. And I've never had a skinniness.
Oh man. So talk about that. Like you're a Utah guy, but I think California guys always have a certain flavor. And there's an 80s and a 90s movement of really this exodus from California, both from Southern California and Northern California to Utah, but you don't leave your Cali swag behind, right? And I didn't know that about you. I had no idea that you're a San Bruno. So I was in Bruno. I went to Bel Air we lived there for 2 years, 1 year in South City, 1 year in, so I counted 2 years in South City. So I know that area well. My college roommate was a guy named Mosa Talakai, and his dad was the bishop for the Sneath Lane ward. The initial OG ward was the Millbrae ward, was it not?
That's right.
Right off of what's that? El Camino Real? Is that off of El Camino Real? Right next to the McDonald's? Yep. Right next to the McDonald's right there. So Letele Tangino Manoa and Suliana Manoa and Selu. And Selu got married. And so we always, even when we didn't live there, I love that area. I still take my kids when I'm around San Francisco. Like we fly to Australia or something out of San Francisco, we stop by Rolling Pin now. But anyways, let's get this back to be about you. You got me going back. So talk about that. Talk about this Cali swag. I mean, because there's a lot of Tongan Utah folks, man, but there's not a lot of Tongan Utah folks with that Cali swag singing on TikTok, right? Like Oscar does, right? Like, I mean, where did all that come from? And talk about how that influenced who you are today, Oscar, please.
I grew up in a ward. When I'm talking about ward, it's church.
Yeah.
Just a group of youth. There was probably like 60 plus of us, right? All growing up, younger, all the way to our age group. But I'll tell you, everybody was musical. Everybody was talented. All the girls in our upbringing were always teaching us music. They were always teaching us things. We did road shows, brother. We would travel from place to place, performing, doing like performing arts, and in the church, the Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, our ward, we played basketball, we played volleyball. There was times where we literally slept at the church.
Right.
You're talking about camping out. We're camping out in the parking lot of the church, just all of us youth, hanging out, talking and loving on each other. So when I come on and I'm sharing stuff from my heart, it's just from exactly what you just shared. Mm-hmm. It's from all the brotherhood and sisters and just the relationship that we had growing up. You can talk to anybody from when I was growing up and they will always bring up our ward, right? They will always talk about all the youth we grew up with and how we all supported one another. As a matter of fact, I want to say that about 90% of us all went off and got educated. Mm-hmm. I want to say that everybody that was in my age group, I believe there was like 18 of us young men that all went on missions for our church, right? every one of us went and served. There was a handful of the young women in our ward that also went and served, right, in the church. And so when we all came back, we all had this understanding of the importance of family, the importance of education, the importance of sharing who we are. Do you know what I'm saying? When I work in mental health, and here are all these people that I was surrounded by as a young man that blessed my life, because mental health back in the day, right, brother? It wasn't really anything back in the day.
Real talk.
Right? I mean, we did
Yeah.
a lot of crazy things, but none of us thought about taking our own lives. None of us
That's right.
thought, right? We never thought about things like that. As a matter of fact, all the kids that I had grown up with, there was none of us that was like partying or doing crazy things. We had cousins and brothers that would always go out and do some crazy things, but that was just them. But that they didn't turn out to be bad people. Does that make sense? They were just people having a little bit of fun, and we didn't spend time sitting there judging anybody. We just loved on everybody, and that's basically what I come from, you know. And so there were amazing youth leaders that helped us in our lives. And so when we look at like setups with boys clubs and young women things that they have out there in our different cities and in our communities, that literally happened for a guy like me right at church.
Right. Right.
And we were blessed because of it. And, I went back about a month and a half ago, Coach, and spoke at a conference there for probably over 400 or 500 youth in the Bay Area, right? And when I started talking about all this stuff that we grew up with, right? All these kids were almost sitting there salivating. Man, keep telling us, right? Keep sharing stories. And I started connecting with all of these youth, and helping them to recognize your greatest ally is sitting right next to you. Your future is dependent upon what you guys all talk about, what you guys are all dreaming about. Because as a young man, a young kid, all of us used to sit there and talk about how we're all going to play in the pros, every one of us, right? All of us used to sit there and dream build about, dude, did you see so-and-so's car? Man, I'm going to have one of those one of these days. I'm going to have this truck. And some of the guys would say things, man, there ain't going to be no more yachte work for me, man.
Right. Right. Real talk.
It was so cool as we were all talking about our futures. Nobody was cutting down what we came from. We were just talking about we wanted something more to bring to the table for all of us. I remember going with my dad to the airport. My dad worked at the airport. And I remember sitting there with a bunch of the older men, right? And these are not just men that are Mormon. These are men that are all religion. And they're sitting there talking about their children and talking about what's happening in their own lives.
Right.
And as I'm sitting there next to this one man, he looks at me and he grabs my hand, brother. And he looks at me and he says, "You just came home from your mission." I said, "Yes." And with tears in his eyes, he looks at me and he says, "This job right here, this job is good enough for all of us that are here. This job is not meant for you or anybody else, right? It's meant for all of us that came from the island, and this has been a blessing for us. Now it's your time to bless the rest of us by you guys going and being educated." And I remember sitting there, brother, in tears, because it hit me that this is not even my dad speaking to me, right? This is a man that loves me and loves all of the young men or young women, but wants such a big dream for each of us, right? And he says that to me, gives me a huge hug and slips me like a 50 and tells me, go get something to eat, and please remember, leave this work for us that are here. You go find something different that will bless our people. And that's been the goal. That's just been the goal, Coach. That's what you and I do. You know, I'm sure you and I have passed those paths from older people of all religion somewhere or another. And,
Yes,
and
sir.
those things don't just leave our minds.
Yes,
right?
sir.
Yeah.
And then so talk about high school. So you're a younger person, right? You're hanging out at the church all the time. Like, what high school did you go to? And talk about, and then share some more about what you've already started to allude to, that I think in terms of our industry of personal or professional development, speaking and coaching people to become the best version of ourselves, is that we remind everyone that we are who we roll with. We assimilate to whom we associate. We become who it is that we are around. So be sure to make sure that you're around people that will lift you up versus bring you down, that impact your mindset for positive and dream thinking, right? So talk about that, your high school, and then your relationships, and then what just a huge two things are, right? Our relationships and our proximity to things around us, whether that's people, circumstances, geographic regions. Every one of those places have a heavy impact on how we think, how we feel, and what it is that we do in terms of behavior.
So, man, I appreciate it, man. And I feel like and sitting here listening to you, I just feel like I'm just talking to one of my brothers.
Yes,
and we're
sir.
just talking stories.
Yeah, that's right.
And this is exactly how it was growing up. You know, I went to school at Cappuccino High School.
Yeah, Cap. Shout out Cap High. Yeah, baby.
I played football there. I wrestled there. Had so much fun growing up, man. And, you know, all my friends were all Palangis. You know, there was only a handful of us kids that were Polynesian. Maybe not even a handful of Hispanic kids, right. Maybe one or two Black kids that were in our school. Yep. But for some reason, we all loved each other.
Right.
You know, and a lot of those kids sometimes would come visit us at church when we'd have big meals or things like that. Or, you know, some of them were little hardcore kids, but we one of the things that we always talked about, the Hispanic kids were little gangbangers, you know, and they would always say, hey, what's up? Oh, what's going on? And they were always kind to me, right? Even though they have this little hardness to them. And what I learned from that now, when I look back at it, when kids are hard, it's because they're wearing a front that they feel they have to wear, right? In order for someone to pay attention, right? And know that it's more of a cry for, will you be my friend? Will you get past this outer wear that I put on, this facade that I put on? Will you get past that so that you can see who I am? You know, and as I recall that from when I was a kid, I saw that a lot in, you know, my brothers that were Hispanic, some of my brothers that are Palangi, that are white, right? The Black guys, there was only a couple, and they were like loved by everybody because, number one, they were bad athletes, right? They were amazing. It was almost like they were recruited to come play to help us. But it was just one of those things. So as I'm sitting here going through my life, and it's just going, it's just hitting me that I was learning at that moment how to become what it is I've become, because with all of the youth that I grew up with, Coach, all of us were good at expressing and being vulnerable. All of us were good at just loving. You know, the fronts we had were not fronts of being uncomfortable with who we are. It was kind of more of a front to protect them from feeling like we're overwhelming. Right? Because some people might feel like, man, what are these goody two-shoes doing? Who are these people, right? When they would sit there and I would do something that was not cool. Like I I remember this like it was yesterday, standing among a bunch of fellas. We're all talking stories, and I ended up saying a bad word.
Right.
Right. And some of the guys that I go to church with, like literally look at me and they're like, dude, you all right, man? And,
Out of character. What's going on here? Yeah, yeah.
and they're just looking at me and they're just like, you all right? And I'm like,
Right.
yeah, what happened? And they're like, we'll let you figure that one out. And,
Right.
you know, and I knew exactly what it was, but it was way out of character for
Right.
me and my buddies that were there. But obviously there were other kids that were there. And for some reason, I felt like it was cool to go ahead and do that. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah.
And what I learned is that maybe that is a part of me in there, that I just like to joke around, and every now and then I'll say certain things, right? Or maybe that was a part of me that was fronting, that made me feel like I had to belong. So I had to use that kind of language or whatever it is. We're all adults now. We use those kinds of things every now and then when we're delivering information. Do you know what I'm saying? And so there's certain things we do, but I remember that as a kid vividly when my buddies said something to me. It's like, dude, you all right? And because it caught them off guard.
Right.
So the background I come from, it was a bunch of young men my age that lifted each other.
That's awesome.
Right. It was a bunch of people that were looking for the good in one another. Right. We all played football. We were all competitive. We would all push each other because some of us went to school at Mills. Right. Some of the boys went to school at Burlingame.
Burlingame, yeah.
And here I am at Cappuccino, and we would battle. Do you know what I'm saying? And when we all meet up in church, we're all one. But at the same time, we'd be talking smack to each other. You know, dude, we messed you guys up last night.
Right. Off the field. Yeah.
Yeah, off the field. It's all that kind of conversation, just having fun. But the thing was, as you were saying earlier, we all looked for ways to lift each other. We all looked for ways to help each other get better. I talked about my buddy. His name is Davey Mahi. Davey Mahi was younger than me, right?
Right.
And I remember one time we were all in the pool. There was this. We cut this hole in the fence, and we all climbed through the fence to go swimming in the pool at Cappuccino. Right. And we would always be in there. And Dave was younger than us. And so everybody would pick on Dave every now and then. Right. And I remember I kept dunking his head in the water. And he came out of the water and he looks at me. I want to say he's probably 14, 15. And he looks at me and he's in tears. And he says, please don't do that. I have earaches. Right.
Right.
And part of me, as being the older, I just wanted to keep doing it.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And then one of the other guys looks at me and goes, "Oh, dude, didn't you hear him? He said, please."
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, you're right. And I remember getting out, and then I jumped on him anyway. Do you know what I'm saying? Just kept playing like boys play. Yeah. But I've never forgotten that. And every now and then, now as grown old men, right? I'll say that to him, and he goes, "Man, I couldn't believe you didn't stop. You just kept doing that."
Yeah.
And, we talk about things like that, but the thing is that, you build trust and love among each other as brothers, and then you start to lift each other. And that's what I have found that all of us that grew up during that time have done. And that's what we teach our children, right? Davey Mahi has 4 guys that are all kids that are all playing ball today, right? One's at Ohio. He's got a couple at Utah, and one that's getting ready to leave high school. Who knows where he'll go? Right. But he's been like a farm for offense and defensive linemen because they're all 6'5" or 6'4" and taller. Yeah. Big, huge men, right? I've got a couple. I got one at Southern Utah. I got one at BYU who are both playing. And all of this, and there's a bunch of us that have children that are all doing something, whether Dave has an older one that's working on being a doctor, right? My children, because of what I do, are all good at working with people, and they're all deciding what do they want to do, right? And so, is it important to know what we come from and who we're hanging out with? Yes, I believe so, right? Can we make a difference in the circles that might be doing something different than I come from? I believe I can make a difference, but it's one of those things, right, where I have to do it from afar because I'm still human and I can get stuck in it.
That's right.
You know, and so when I go in to do certain things, it's interesting, but I was talking about the circle of influence, right? As our circle of influence grows, it blesses others and they get to watch. Where am I going from here? Well, I listen to Coach V every week and I want to grow from what he's saying. He talks about iron sharpens iron. What does that mean? I want to learn that. I want to figure that out, right? And so that's why we do what we do, right? Because we know that I'm building a circle of influence, right? If you don't know who I am, I'm Coach V, right? This is the O show. I'm Oscar. I go places and people go, "Hey, it's the O show," and it cracks me up because the O show started, Coach, just from me singing, you know, during COVID.
I've seen that. I've seen that. Yes.
You know, so it wasn't like anything planned. It just happened and it's grown into something. And I've taken the platform and I use it, and it's blessing my family, it's blessing others, and it's just from spreading that word of love. It's iron sharpening iron. It's me teaching people it'll be a lot easier to cut that tree if you sharpen your axe.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Right? You keep pounding away at that tree with an axe that is dull, right? You'll never get it completed. You'll quit before the tree comes down. So if you want to learn how to get that tree down, you're going to have to be okay with sharpening your axe. And so I use that quite a bit. I use that in talking with people. I have people that meet with me. Before I came to be on your show today, I had a group of people sitting talking with me. And I just shared with them about, I've been talking a lot about the circle of influence compared to our circle of concern, right? Because you remember the story of Gandhi, right? They shared Gandhi. He recognized that the concern was major for his people. And he decided that rather than sit in that circle of concern and we just talk about the concerns, I'm going to be a person of influence. So he took himself out of that circle and he started to, he'd fast, he would pray, he would spread messages of kindness and love like you and I are doing. And before you know it, his circle of influence among the world changed. And millions of people in India, their lives were saved and loved, all because of the circle of influence.
That's
right? So here you and I are spreading something that's loaded with love. And we're trying to help anybody. It don't matter what color you are, and it don't matter if you're Tongan or Samoan, it doesn't.
Right.
What matters is, do you have an ear that might want to hear, a heart that's looking to heal, right? And love and care and concern for everyone. Can you do that? If you can do that, we can do a lot of things. And it doesn't have to happen all at once.
Right.
But I share with people all the time, in order to heal, there has to be vulnerability. You're going to have to be okay, right? When O drops some tears, you're going to have to be okay. If you can feel my heart coming to you, you're going to have to be okay with that, because that's the only way I know how to talk.
Right.
You know? And so how do we connect if there is nothing here? I'm talking to you over a camera, and I feel that you and I are connecting, brother. I know that we're connecting, right? Because we're on the same page. We do the same work, and we're just trying to reach the world and be of influence that spreads love. So
I love that. Circle of concern versus the circle of influence. That got right to the point of my question, right? Of we are who we roll with, we assimilate to whom we associate, and we become who it is that we are around. And I love personal development because it's counter to the getting. So many people, especially as a young age, or what's called entrepreneurship or a business person or a profit focused person, is focused on the getting versus what it is that I would believe. And I don't know everything it is that you do, but I do believe this about you. We focus on becoming. It is in the becoming that we not only become more effective and efficient at pursuing what we want, but now because we become it, what it is that we pursue now becomes attracted and starts chasing us, right? Where we raise, and I love the way you say it in terms of circle of concern and circle of influence. So in terms of this becoming, so you're in this sphere of influence of these amazing people in your past. What's next from CAP? Where did you go to school? And let's draw some life lessons from now going from one sphere of influence, because I really do feel like that's the social jungle for our societies today, is going to college, where people used to be sent off to the ocean and you got to grow and figure it out on your own. I mean, in so many ways, I believe that's college. So in terms of Oscar's becoming, what was next in terms of going to higher education, graduating, and becoming who you are now by that next experience? And what was that next experience, Oscar, for you?
So I came home. I ended up going on a mission. My father loved me so much, and he noticed that I had a girlfriend in high school who I loved a ton. And my dad and I had some differences because I'm just a punk kid, but I was in love. I thought I was in love. Do you know what I'm saying? As well as I've been brought up, as well as I've been taught, I'd been dating this girl, the last couple of years of high school, and I literally thought I was in love. My dad came to me and he goes, "Shh, let's go." And I go, "Well, what's happening?" He goes, "I'm sending you to go to Tonga. You're going to go on your mission." Right? And I'm like, "But I don't want to go." He goes,
"Yeah, you're right.
That's nice." He goes, "That's nice."
Good for you. You don't want to?
So this homeboy ends up getting on the airplane, and I went to Tonga, right? And I leave behind this girl that I truly loved and I cared about. At the same time, go there, I serve a mission. I was a good missionary. I did some great work there, learned a ton of things, came home, had no idea what I'm doing next. Right? I'm thinking I'm getting married. I'm thinking that girl's waiting for me, only to come home and find that she had already been married. She got married already, right? So then 6 months going by, my cousin of mine going to school up at Rick's College up in Idaho, he calls me and he says, "Hey, they're looking for a heavyweight to wrestle." And I'm like, "So what does that have to do with me?" He goes, "You wrestled in high school, man. You were good." He goes, "I'm going to let them know so that they'll offer you a scholarship." I'm like, "Is that how it works?"
Right.
He says, "Just be ready. They'll call you, man." I get a coach from Coach Christensen in Rexburg, Idaho, inviting me to come there. They would like to go ahead and give me a scholarship to come and wrestle at Rick's College. So that's how the next step happened, brother. Yeah. The winter comes, and here I am. I'm on my way up to Rick's College that has like 2.5 feet of snow on the ground. I've never seen snow before. I'm like freaked out. You lived in Boise, right? It was snow there, right?
Yeah. But not like Rexburg snow. That's different. It's cold up there now.
I get up to Rexburg. I start living there, and I'm like, whoa, what is this? Right? Start going to school, start playing as a kid, goofing around, having fun. They had a nightclub there. I end up being the DJ at the nightclub.
Oh, yeah, way. DJ, I see you.
So
I like it.
I start using some of these talents that I've been given, right? And that I have. And I start DJing. never made a dime in it, brother, because like there was a cafe inside the club.
Yeah.
And all of my buddies, man, whenever they would come, they would go into the cafe and say, "Hey, can you put this on O's bill?
Right,
Can you
right.
put this on O's bill?" And I remember 3 or 4 different times getting my check, and it just had zeros on it. I told my boss, "Dude, why are you wasting paper and ink, man? You know it's zero." He goes,
Yeah,
"Legally,
yeah.
I have to give you a check that says 0000." But and so I had to put a stop to that with all my buddies, man. But you know our style, right? That's
Yeah,
our
yeah.
style.
No doubt.
And so I went to school there, ended up leaving there and coming to Southern Utah. Completed my education here at Southern Utah in sociology. Never went on to do anything else because I got to be honest, I hated school. I struggled the whole
Real
time.
talk. Me too.
I thought I was there to play football, brother. You know. And then when I went on and had a few looks, you know, some opportunity, and it never worked out, you know, and so ended to come back. And I remember working in I ended up working in in a factory, and I'm like, all that education to work in a factory, wow, right? So I was in the factory for probably about 4 months, but I didn't realize that I had already started working. When I look back at things and the contacts that I have from that my circle of influence has already grown quite a bit with people, even though as a young guy, right? Because I remember walking around that whole factory. Everywhere I go, I'm singing, you know, people's like, "Hey, Oscar, what are you singing now?"
Yeah,
And I just sing songs and have fun and do my work. When I got out of there, I went into working in a facility for young boys that had gone through a lot of different struggles. And as I started working there, my everything that I had learned in social work started to come together, and I started to understand. Okay, so I understand now that I'm going to be working with families, their children, and I'm going to figure out where do we go from here. So I started going. I worked in a residential treatment center for boys. I ended up in Fresno for about 8 months, and I ran a gang unit in Fresno with about 8 boys, hardcore boys. Finish that, come back into Utah. I go into corrections in Utah and start working as a correctional officer. Stayed there for about 8 years, moved out, went into a bigger residential treatment center with males and females. And then from there, started putting together the speaking stuff that I do. Not understanding that I was moving in the direction of literally teaching and, you know, inspiring and, you know, being motivational to other people. And slowly people just would call me and ask me, "Hey, will you do this? Will you do this?" And I started doing those things, and it's grown from there. Today, I do a lot of different types of training for different organizations throughout the States. I do a lot of things for youth, women, husbands and wives, you name it. I've been able to get in there and help them. And the whole thing has always been, my heart is my compass in teaching people to understand. Get out of your head, get into your heart. Allow your heart to give you some guidance, because that's where it gets warm, right? And so I've had so many people ask, how do I get out of my head? And I'm like, well, do things that allows your spirit to come alive, right? I don't know if you pray. I don't know if you spend time reading a good book. I don't know if you do service for others, but all of those types of things will allow your heart to come alive, right? Because it is taking self out of the whole equation and allowing you to become part of something where you give. And, you know, and so you and I, when we come into this show like today, I feel like you're allowing me to give of me, brother, and I'm grateful for it, because I know that that's what you're doing, is giving of yourself to those that are listening. And that's why in my mind, it don't matter if it's one or two people, because there will be a time where all of a sudden this world will need exactly what you and I are doing, even to a bigger. And I feel like, you know, the good Lord, Father in heaven, is preparing guys like us for something even bigger. And in order to do that, I believe my heart has got to stay in the right place. And I have to continue to educate myself to understand, why do I feel certain ways? Why do I do things certain ways? Right? Why do I struggle with certain things I struggle with? These are things that I continuously work on and get better at. So I hope we're on the right track, brother.
No, this is the track. This is the track. Yeah, man, because I'm taking a ride, taking my notes, and I'm sure the audience is as well. Oscar, in that, just thank everybody out there. I'm thanking everybody for tuning in to the Coach V Show here on Island City. Tonight, we have featured Oscar, and then let me make sure I say this correct, Fakahua, on the show, who's a counselor, speaker, trainer, coach. He's all of these things that really comes down to my heart is my compass. In that, Oscar, we've come to the segment of the show where you get a minute, 2 minutes or so. What is your message? Well, I mean, because that is such a profound aspect, right? And I coach, teach, and train the heart as really emotional intelligence, right? And so many people feel like that only direction and data can be translated and then now digested in a way that could be something that's positive through the brain. But then now studies really show that, is it really the brain that tells the heart and the physical what to do? Or is it the heart that communicates with the brain and tells everything else? So I'm just so intrigued with those studies that I constantly read, to the effect that it's not just one thing or another, but it's the culmination of really our mentality, our emotional intelligence, and then the behavior that's reflected from that. So in that, Oscar, what is your message to the world? You got about 1.5, 2 minutes.
My message to the world is this: the bottom line, all we have is each other. The bottom line is, with Coach V having me on the show allows me to share with you what it is my heart feels, what it is that allows me to be who I am. As you're listening to this, there's nothing that I can tell you of intelligence that would make you understand that there's things you need to work on. Only you can do that, right? We all have intelligence. We all know so many things, but our heart will let us know these are things that need to be fixed. These are things that you need to work on. And you're going to have to get honest with yourself, because your brain won't let you stop doing what you want to stop. Your heart will allow that to happen. And so
say that again. Say that. Your brain will say that again. I need to make sure with the audience and I hear that correctly. Say that again, Oscar, please.
Yes, for me, my brain won't let me stop what it is that I want to have stopped, that I might be struggling with, that I might be fighting with, or might be going through. But my heart will allow me to understand there's something here that you need to fix. Fix it, right? When that goes from my heart to my brain, then it allows me to figure out, hey, I can do this. I can do this. My self-image is strong enough that I can do it, but I've got to believe it. And my heart keeps telling me, come on, you got this, right? When coach is coaching, he's coaching from his heart. Yes, his knowledge is loaded, but his heart is what delivers that knowledge, right? You and I can get stuck on knowledge, and we can deliver knowledge all we want. But if whoever's listening does not feel that it's coming from our hearts, then it's just a bunch of words. And so that's my message, brother.
Thank you so much for that. Very powerful. In that, how can people get a hold of you and reach out to you through seeing this show to either get help, get direction, or book you? And then, what are also the projects that you're excited about right now that you're currently working on?
So you can get a hold of me through oshouse.family,
Okay.
right? And you can get a hold of me on my phone, which is open to the world. It's 435-590-8805. I would love to come speak at an event. I would love to share information as a life coach if you're just needing to talk. I have quite a few people from my own culture that call me, right? And it's been cool, coach, because they'll be like, Oscar, I don't have anything. I just need some help. And
Mm,
I've been blessed with gifts from my Father in heaven that allows me to help. If it's um, I'm wealthy in many ways. And, so that's one of the gifts that I have that I'm able to share. And I love on anyone that needs help. Um, what was the other thing you had said?
So, and then what are some projects that right now you'd like to promote that you're
Right.
loving, that you have going on right now in terms of your purpose-driven projects?
So one of the projects that I am working on is I have what's called, um, I have been building a business with a buddy of mine. His name is Manasseh Fotu, and he's one you're going to need to interview, brother. I
Okay.
promise. His name is Manasseh Fotu, and he's a pretty well-to-do gentleman in the world of multi-level marketing.
Okay.
He's one of the most successful Tongans that I know in that field. And he and I have been doing some work together because it's helped me to understand that as we continue to strengthen and better ourselves with knowledge and in our delivery of certain things, I'm learning that it's that thing. Many people are afraid of multi-level stuff because it comes with certain things that they don't understand. And he and I are sitting there going, how then do we help our people? Because a lot of our people, they feel like the only way to better their lives is to become educated. And what you and I are teaching is how to become educated and learn something different than what they're doing. And I'm like, you know what, that's awesome. And I'm willing to support that, which I believe is what you do also, right? Is that all we're doing is we're teaching and we're helping our own people and others learn how do we better ourselves. Well, the only way to do that is to educate ourselves in something that makes sense. And so he took this app and he helped me to understand there's financial fitness, which our culture is horrible at, right? Most cultures, they
Real
know
talk.
how to make the money, they don't know how to hang on to the money, right? And so I was listening to these different audios that are teaching and help me to understand that when I deliver information, I can help people understand, right? We waste a lot of things like our time. We waste a lot of things like money that we worked hard for, right? And we need to learn. Those things are placed there so we can keep them. And so there's so many things. I do a lot of speaking. I don't have anything scheduled as of late, but I will start to post things. And those of you that are listening, I will be posting this segment right here and other segments on Coach V's show in everything that I do. If that's what's going to help it, that's what we're going to do. And so anyway, Coach, I got nothing but love for you, brother. And I'm
Yep.
filled with gratitude.
No, and us, you shout outs. Take 30 seconds to 45 seconds. Let's shout out who you want to shout out.
I want to shout out my mom and dad who've been a huge blessing in my life. Shout out all of my family all over the world, all my friends that have made a difference in my life, which is every single one of you. I got some buddies that are in Alaska that had put together something off of my necklace. I had no idea that my necklace was so important to so many people. And my buddies put together a t-shirt and a sweatshirt. And on the back of the sweatshirt, it says O's House. And on the front, all you see is my necklace. And so they've just been kind of putting that out and moving that product all over the place for me. It wasn't even something that I was a part of. And it's not like they're keeping it, they're donating that to help other people. And I've just been like, that's amazing. And I'm grateful for that. So a shout out to Bruce Humphreys and to Sterling Lyman for all the love that you guys have given me in that area. Shout out to Manasseh Fotu for the education that he's helping me to understand that I need as far as how to handle money, brother.
Yeah.
Right? And teaching that to our own culture. And I'm going to shout out my own culture, right?
Yeah.
For the blessings that my culture has been in my life. But number one is my wife. She's my entire life. And I think I'll finish with that. Without an amazing lady by my side, I don't feel I get to become who I have become. And my heart and soul goes to that lady. I have this little thing. I don't know if you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
You able to see that, bro?
Yep. She's my why. Work smart. Work with no fear.
So that lady right there, she's my life, brother.
That's awesome.
I work hard because she's the mom of my children. She's been a blessing to me in my life. She's helped me to understand that the only thing that gets in my way is my thoughts. Sometimes, right? Sometimes I battle on, am I good enough? Sometimes I wonder, does anybody care? And she always stands beside me and she says, I care. And you don't ever have to wonder. People love you, O. And being on here with you, Coach, has allowed me to believe that one more time and to continue on with this journey I'm on. Much love, brother.
Much love. And what is your wife's name?
My wife is Jennifer Jean Rowland Fakahua.
Jennifer. Right on. Awesome. And then, so thank you everybody for tuning in to the Coach V Show. We have about 2 minutes left, and I got 2 questions on the Coach V hot seat where I am going to say a phrase or bring to Oscar's attention something, and then he is going to tell us what it is that comes to mind to him or to the top of mind. Oscar, here on the Coach V hot seat, here is your first question and or phrase for you to respond to. Love is a noun that works better as a verb, because without action, love is just a word. Your thoughts, Oscar?
We gotta act. It really is just a word. As a matter of fact, it's like I tell people, you can use the word all you wish, but unless you show and unless you are there to deliver, it means nothing. So I appreciate that. That's one that I wish I had an hour to answer.
Yeah, and I phrase it different ways, right? Because both success, faith, and love, they're nouns, but all of them work better as a verb. So that's right, action. People will forget, Oscar. Here's the next phrase. People will forget what you tell them, but people will never forget how you made them feel. What's your thoughts on that, Oscar?
That is basically how I live. I want to make sure they can feel me, right? This was a 425-pound guy who is 384 this morning, working on, getting myself down and not eating a whole pig, just, having a little bit of it, brother. I gotta have a whole pig and some kumala, or something.
Yeah, real talk.
But what I've learned is that I have to find a way to connect and let them feel of my heart so that they'll remember that there was something that was shared. They might not remember what was shared, but they'll remember they met the big brown bald dude, right? Yeah. And so that's one of the things that makes a lot of sense in my brain. So
Amen. So in that when you say ohshouse.family, that's the email address? Or is that the, okay. So when you say O's house, is it just a OSHOUSE.family? What is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, just OS.
So everybody that's out there that wants to reach out to O, you can find him on TikTok, IG, and on Facebook. And then you can also find O on O's House, OSHOUS.family, FAMILY. He's given his cell phone number to the world at 435-590-8805 for all of you that are looking for this type of approach that is really heart-centered, where the heart is the compass for you, your organization, your company. Reach out to my man, O, and make sure that you guys can have that. And O, thank you so much. Thank you to your wife, Jennifer. Thank you to Malakai and Latu, your parents, for just sharing with us just an amazing man and all it is that you do to lift all of us up, and that we make sure that we realize that we do matter and what we feel matters, and how it is that we conduct how it is through the heart, and have the heart tell the brain what it is that we should be doing. I love that. I love that so much. Oh, and the fact that, you know, we're connected through Bruno, through our experiences in San Bruno. I love that as well. And I didn't even know before the show. So thank you, Oscar, so much for coming on the show. And thank you to all of you that have tuned in this Mono Motivation Monday and every Mono Motivation Monday to the Coach V Show. And this is the reason why, for both Oscar and I, because this is not just for the achievement of the success, but really for the sake of being our best. Because in doing so, we realize the best of our abilities, and that everything and anything that we dream and work for can be achieved. This is how this life coach and this success coach lives, all about faith and family, grateful for God's amazing grace. Until next time, it is your boy O from the O's House and your boy Coach V. Until next time, one love, mad respect, live it. Peace.